Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar. Cloud testing has never been easier or more accessible. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items for our viewers. First, at the bottom of your audience console, you'll see a number of widgets for questions and additional resources. When you have questions for the presenter during the webcast, click on the Q&A widget and submit your question. We will answer as many questions as possible at the end of the webcast, and if we run out of time, we will get back to you via email. Second, if you have any tech support or if you need any tech support during the webinar, please use the help option. Third and finally, a copy of today's slide deck is available in the resources section at the bottom of your screen. We will also send you a link to the recording of this webinar within the next few hours. With that, I will introduce our presenter for today's broadcast, Nico Kruger, Director of Global Sales Engineering here at Perforce. Nico, thanks for joining us on today's broadcast.
Thank you, Shelby, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. So my name is Nico Kruger. I head up the Global Sales Engineering team here at Perfecto by Perforce. Now, today's webinar is really going to look at how you could use a cloud testing platform like Perfecto to make your life easier and help you solve some of those problems that really make it hard to get great quality and speed up your release cycles for both web, your mobile applications, for many teams that we work with around the world. So, now, I've been involved in testing for a number of years myself. I look after our global sales engineering team, and with that, we get the opportunity to work with a large number of customers in different industries, solving different problems. And so we're going to take this great opportunity to really share with you how we, solve some of those challenges and really what we're seeing today that the Perfecto platform is doing and how it's adding value to those teams. So here's what we'll cover today. So the first thing we'll look at is how a testing cloud like Perfecto can help you extend your test coverage against all the different browser combinations, all the different devices, how you can start to not only take your manual testing really to the next level to get access to the coverage that you need for your testing, but also how you start to accelerate testing. So how do we go from a couple of releases to many releases a day to even hundreds of releases every single day for teams that are spread out globally? And how do we assure that we get the best quality out of our development life cycles? Because the faster we can get things into people's hands, the better for our customers. But of course, the experience needs to be of a phenomenal quality level, and Perfecto is the platform that can help you do that. Second, we'll look at how other teams are finding some of these challenges and how they are addressing them with a tool like Perfecto. How are they getting to that level of automation? How are they moving towards automation from a manual release type flow they have today? And then we'll actually show you the Perfecto platform and all the great things we've got to make your life easier. We'll show you how you can get going with your manual testing efforts and how you can move that all the way to test automation. But more importantly is how do I start to make great decisions on quality? How do I get smart about using our AI engine to make good decisions that'll help improve the quality of my product? So super excited to show you all of those today. So let's first take a look at how you can actually extend your test coverage, how you can accelerate and get all your teams on the same page. So what are the problems that the teams we work with and that I work with every day are facing? And the world has certainly changed. We're seeing new problems coming out every day. And of course, testing teams specifically and engineering teams need to adapt quickly. And the great thing is most of these teams we work with know how to do this. They know how to adapt. They're open to adapting. That, of course, is the third thing. That is how you get to these solutions much faster. So as the world has changed, we have seen more and more teams not only spread out, but in today's world, working from home. And specifically for testing teams that are doing both web-based testing, mobile testing, or testing on tablets, this has created a vast problem where devices used to be in the office. We used to be able to go and use them if we didn't have a cloud platform like Perfecto. And with teams now working remotely, devices are being shipped around. That gets very expensive. Devices get lost, get damaged. It really is a problem. So for teams that are now spread out, working from home in different time zones, we know there's a better way. And the way is using a cloud testing platform like Perfecto, because we can get you the access to the devices, the browsers you need instantly and 24 hours a day. And that means you can actually get better, cost of testing out of using a platform like Perfecto, because you can now more reliably share these infrastructure items between the different teams, be it engineering, be it QA, even your business testers, and ultimately for those end user or customer testing as well. So we can really address that for teams, and we've seen an uptick over sort of the June, July timeframe within this year, where teams are seeing more and more of these problems. So again, a great way to go ahead and start to do that testing. The other problem we've seen is because a lot of teams have these devices in hand, the engineering teams specifically were doing lots of debugging. So this is where I need a real device plugged into a USB cable so I can debug my app. It might be a very unique instance. It might be something really hard where somebody needs to sit and find the problem. But that's a problem because I have to get a device shipped again. There's some security concerns with devices floating around. And if you move to a cloud provider, you might think that is not possible. But it is possible. You can actually, with a platform like Perfecto, connect a device that's sitting in the cloud to your computer like it's a long, big USB cable. And what this allows you to do is it not only allows you to then debug and find that problem, but all of a sudden you can take lots of different devices, different operating systems, and ensure that the app crash or the problem you were trying to debug is actually fixed across a wide variety of different platforms. So again, not only fixing the problem that a lot of these engineers running into, but also helping them get better at doing that. The other problem we start to run into is for those teams starting to slowly go back to their offices and using physical devices is really a health concern of touching devices by many people, using these devices, having to clean them all the time. And some people say, look, for health and safety reasons, maybe we don't want to do that. So again, how do I still reproduce that really in-hand, real device feel by using something else? And you could do that with Perfecto. It allows you to use real devices to go ahead and get that experience with the touch gestures by getting biometric data like Touch ID, Face ID, simulating location. So all the things you were typically using with a physical device, you can now do in the safety of your office space or your home office space. So again, a great way to do that. The other challenges, and we've seen this recently with the latest iOS and Android releases, are the changes that these teams are being exposed to. So just the vast amount of changes and the pace at which these changes are happening are really holding some of the teams back. So you need a platform that has the latest iOS or Android release, latest and even the beta releases of these OS versions, and not even to go into browsers, just staying up to date with the latest Chrome, Firefox or Edge or IE releases and making sure that you can go back and test the older ones. That is something that somebody has to maintain and do. And again, these problems are typical things that teams find easy with Perfecto to solve. But more importantly, some of the other problems we've seen is where teams want to get into automation and they need somebody that knows how to run automation at scale successfully. And Perfecto is that company that can help you move into test automation by our creation frameworks that we have available, for those folks wanting to do BDD, for those folks using open source automation platforms that want to connect to us, they could absolutely do that. But really, Perfecto knows how to automate hard, complex problems easily, and we know how to automate these flows. So teams are turning to Perfecto to help them do that. And that's something, we'll even show you today is how Perfecto can help you do that. And we can really use our expertise to help teams move to levels of automation not seen, in this industry, 80, 90% of automation. So if you have that sort of problem, we're certainly the team that can help you with that as well. Moving on, let's look at the coverage problem. The coverage problem is one that, a lot of teams try to solve is how do I get a single platform so I don't have to switch between platforms because I want to do mobile, I want to do tablets, I want to do browsers because my app might work against many platforms, might, need to be tested against all these platforms, many versions back. So how do I do this in one single place? And that is Perfecto. It is the only platform where you will get all the devices, the infrastructure you need for your test automation. It is the only platform where you'll get both real devices, simulators, emulators in a single place with real browsers, including browsers on Windows desktops. So think of Chrome, Firefox, and so on. But also if you're running real Mac machines and you want to test browsers on these Macs, so Safari, Chrome on a Mac, we are the platform that provides that to you. we are also the platform that can do this in a secure fashion. And we'll talk about that a bit later on. We also know that, not only is security top priority for our, for the teams using Perfecto, but they want to make sure that it's reliable, it always works, and you can execute at scale. And that's really where Perfecto delivers. So how do we start to accelerate our testing? So the first thing we've got to look at is, let's make sure that people can actually test when they need to test. And that's part of the biggest bottleneck we run into. A lot of teams today really still run into bottlenecks where they don't have the ability or get access to devices. It's very hard because, again, they're spread out. They're not in the same place. They might not be, in a central cloud location. So how do we get across that? So the first thing is providing access to the devices and the browsers that your team needs when they need them. Okay, so you don't waste time waiting on things to be available. How do I start to accelerate that? By automating it. The other part we do a lot is taking those test automation scripts that teams are creating. And if you need a framework, we can help you with that. Think of a BED framework, for example. But how do I take that and move it as part of my CI/CD pipeline? Again, Perfecto is the place that can provide that for you. So, for example, as we see teams committing their code, wanting to run their smoke tests against virtual devices, they can do so quickly. When they're ready to promote that to the QA team and run the automation scripts for the UI test, they can do that in Perfecto. If you want to run any other test, the end-to-end flow test, you could do that in Perfecto. So it really helps you speed up that process because you no longer have to wait for anything to be available or for a device to get the right operating system. It'll always be ready to run when you are. Now, we can also take the testing cycles where we know that a lot of the speed gets impacted is when you need to test real end-user scenarios. So what does that really mean? That means, a log-on flow. If you're a bank and you need to sign up and you're using things like, scanning a credit card or a driver's license and that, registering account, there's Touch ID involved, there's Face ID involved. How do I actually automate those real end-user scenarios with an SMS message or, a text message being received that I can actually complete my registration? These are hard problems which a lot of teams struggle with. And Perfecto does this for the top banks globally. We do it for many finance providers, the top telecom providers, even those that are doing bleeding-edge technology in Silicon Valley. So Perfecto is a platform that helps you automate these really, really hard real user scenarios. And in fact, you can create profiles in our platform that'll even help you do that as well. So how do I simulate 3G, 2G, 4G while I've got Instagram open, maybe a Facebook, I've got Google Maps in the background open, and maybe I want to scan a check or my application needs to scan a barcode or take a image of a slip, for example. How do I actually test that? And Perfecto is the platform that can do that. Now, as soon as you start to automate those really hard scenarios, what we've seen in the last couple of months with new operating systems coming out is where some, for example, buttons in the latest iOS 14 wouldn't exist anymore. So the apps had to adapt. But how am I ready on day one if, Apple or, Google releases the latest version of the operating system? How do I know that my app is ready to go when my users are? And Perfecto is the only platform that'll have the beta operating systems as well as the same day support to any of these operating systems. That is browsers, that is, smartphone operating systems, even foldable devices. So if you are thinking of smartphones that are now going to be foldable, those are available today in Perfecto. So if you are looking for a testing platform that'll make you successful, make you stay ahead of the curve, Perfecto is that platform for you. And that's how we're helping our customers really accelerate that testing. The other part of it is really debugging. How do I find problems? And we spoke about this earlier. How do I connect the device if it's not in my hand? And Perfecto allows you to get all these logs files out. It allows you to get performance data on the application. So how much CPU is it using, memory, all those things. How do I get my log files? For web applications, how do I get my HAR or performance log so I can understand what's going on in the background? And Perfecto, is the platform that has the ability to really do this across browsers, mobile browsers, and real app phones as well. So again, a great way for teams to start to get ahead of that curve as well. And that is really where you start to really get your teams accelerating and running their testing cycles a bit more. Now, of course, as we speak about this single platform for teams all over the world, be it if they're working from home or even if they're in different countries. So why do I need such a platform? And what we're seeing teams gain is a massive return on investment, because if you start using a cloud platform like Perfecto, it's one place where all the real devices, the operating systems, the platforms live, and I can run my manual testing. I can include my test automation script for Selenium, for Appium. If I'm using any other test automation framework like Quantum or any other framework, I can run it against a single platform. What that means is you can share these devices, you can utilize them better, because you can run your test automation scripts at different times, you can schedule them. You can also make sure that devices are available for teams when they need them by reserving them. So a great way to do that, for our big, large private enterprises is they build up these schedules, and to ensure that these devices are used in as many hours in a single day as humanly possible. What we're also seeing is for a lot of customers that need a wide variety of testing devices, they can get those in the Perfecto public cloud infrastructure. And we'll talk a bit about how that all works shortly. And what we're seeing, the end result is that the QA teams, your engineering teams, your test automation engineers and business testers now can all go into a single place, use these devices and browsers, but more importantly, you have a single platform for all the test results. And one of the things that many people don't think about is when you start to accelerate your testing is the amount of data that you will generate is vast. The testing reports are going to be a lot. And what do you do with them? Because you can't go through them manually. It's just going to be too many. We've got customers running hundreds of thousands of scripts every single day. And the amount of reports you generate, it is just a big, big problem. So how do I get across that? And Perfecto is the platform. With our heat map and our reporting capabilities using artificial intelligence and machine learning, we will tell you where the problems are. We will tell you how to quickly find the problem that a lot of these scripts share and fix that problem. And this is where you really start to unite these teams and, more importantly, get the test automation to scale and execute at the pace you want. So how do teams address some of the challenges to accelerate these release cycles? So we'll take a look at some of the challenges that we see in the market, and it's really across three distinct personas, if you would, or markets that we see. And that is for our manual testing teams that aren't yet ready for automation and want to move into automation. And then the second one are those teams that are now ready. They want to run with automation, but they need help. And then our last category are our enterprise customers that really need this single platform. And we'll talk a bit about the challenges they face. And you might be a small team in this large organization that's are facing the same challenges. So let's first look at how Perfecto actually works. So when you think of Perfecto, it is a cloud testing platform. It can be available in a public cloud where devices are shared. So, for example, you will see hundreds and hundreds of devices, and Perfecto is the largest with the largest amount of devices of any cloud provider in the world. So when you log into our cloud instance, you will see real devices in the hundreds. You'll see real desktop browsers, many, many, many different variations of those available instantly for you to use. And what that is great for in a public cloud with these shared devices are that they are secure. Well, what you do on the device is secure and never shared. It is cleaned every single time. So security is, of course, our first and main priority for our customers. So you can rest assured that you will get the best out of the Perfecto cloud when running your apps that might be available in an app store or web app on our public cloud infrastructure. But for our private cloud customers that really want, private security connecting to their back-end systems, this could be internal systems, or where they have, large testing needs, where they want dedicated control over these devices, we also have a private cloud available. And we see this as, a great capability if you want to have certain scenarios that you want to run in these, and we can certainly help you understand in which scenarios you will face. But of course, there's also a hybrid approach where you could use both public as well as private cloud in a mixed environment, so you can get the best of both worlds from Perfecto. And then, of course, we also have the ability to deploy as a full hybrid cloud where devices could potentially be, on site. And this is typically done in very, very specific use cases. We think of telco customers where the devices need to do certain things. And again, this type of approach is not something you get with all cloud providers. It really helps you know that Perfecto is the company that you want to partner with, because we have the ability to do this for both private, public, and these hybrid deployments. Okay, and that really gives you the flexibility for your internal demand from your internal user base to really get them to address what it is they want to test and how they want to test. So let's first take a look at some of the teams we talk to on a daily basis that really want to say, hey, we're doing manual testing today, and we need this platform that addresses both web. We have some mobile web we want to test. We have some native apps. This is what they're looking to achieve. And Perfecto gives you that manual testing capability straight out of the box. So if you're really just starting down your path here and all your tests are manual, and as you're moving into automation, Perfecto is a great place to start, because not only can you still do your manual testing inside of Perfecto, you will automatically gain many of the advantages of Perfecto. For example, how do you start to test things, use cases like location, for branches or different areas where location is important? So how do I tell this device I might be in downtown Sydney or downtown London or downtown New York? How do I test these different scenarios from a device located anywhere in the world? And Perfecto allows you to do that. There might be other use cases which a lot of teams want to test as well. And one of those unique, use cases is, I've got a device open and it's interacting with a browser. So it might have to scan a QR code. That's something I might need to test. How do I do that in a cloud provider? And that's something Perfecto is exceptionally good at. But really what it allows you to do is it allows you to get started on your journey. And for many testing teams, manual testing will always be there. That is part of life. It's something teams really want to, avoid as far as possible, but oftentimes you need to do that. And Perfecto allows you to still get all the data you want out of these testing efforts, so it really adds a tremendous amount of value. And again, this type of testing, you have control over the device. So there's lots of things you can do with these devices that typically are not available in other cloud providers. And again, we also give you the ability, as you're starting your automation journey, to also then start to look at the objects. So we have a built-in object spy that you can get the locators to all the buttons and icons on these apps or browser apps, so you can really get started faster on your automation journey. And that's critical. A lot of teams struggle with that because they have to use different object spies. With Perfecto, it's already built in. And I'll show you how that works, because it really does get you started from your manual testing and get you going on the path to automation very, very quickly. The next part is, we typically see teams that say, hey, this is great. We love testing and we want to move fast. We're ready. We want to start to integrate this with our CI/CD pipeline. How do we get started? And Perfecto can really help you along that journey. If you are in the category where you already know the frameworks you're using, so you're using Appian, you're using Selenium, or XUI Test, or Espresso, you know what you're doing. You can simply connect those to Perfecto and start executing immediately. Because the reason for that is Perfecto supports all the automation frameworks. We also support a lot of different execution, orchestration, and CI/CD tools. So if you have that set up today, it's as simple as taking the URL, plugging it into your framework, taking your security token, and you can connect it up. And I'll actually show you today how we can do that as well. But the important part is, if you are in the first category where you say, hey, we need help, how do I get started? Perfecto also provides a quantum framework that can get you started to test both browser-based as well as mobile-based tests as well. So if you, for example, want to write a single BDD test case or script that opens up the app on a browser, it opens up the browser on a phone, or opens up the app on the real device, you could do that. And the quantum framework allows you to do that very, very quickly. And in fact, most of the times for the team that I work on, we use quantum framework when we need to prove value very quickly, because it gets you going down the road of automation quickly. We've had a lot of our team spend years and years improving this framework, and it's open source that you can use to get started as quickly, because we use it on a day-to-day basis. So if you need help to get started, Perfecto can certainly take you down that path. So not only can you take your existing scripts, but we can also help you with those scripts to get them connected as well. The other part of this with automation is scaling automation. So how do I not only run on different phones, different browsers, different versions? How do I run them in parallel? And Perfecto allows you to scale and burst to unmatched parallel executions within our industry. If you want to run 5 or 10, that's small for us, right? If you want to run hundreds of parallel tests, you can absolutely do that. And I'll show you today how we can take the TestNG framework and actually run parallel tests on both mobile phones and browsers at the same time. And that is really how we can get you moving along with your test automation execution at scale. So it's really, really important that we help you with that if you have that need, because we can really get you going exceptionally quickly. So for the final one, for our teams we work with, and this is typically what we see as our enterprise customers. Now, sometimes people mention enterprise, you're thinking of hundreds of users, which is a lot of the times the users we work with. But it's oftentimes smaller teams in these larger organizations, think of big banks and big finance houses and so on, where they have really complex needs and they need an enterprise level tool. And what does enterprise really mean? It means secure. It means it's got all the certifications on our data centers to know that your data is secure. The way we store, the way we transit your data is handled in the appropriate fashion for your internal security reviews, and that is the Perfecto Enterprise Cloud. It is the only cloud that has data centers distributed globally. So if you want devices in region, meaning Canada, the US, Europe, Asia Pacific, we have data centers in there. That means you can get real devices in those countries. You can get SIM cards in those countries to do the testing that you need to do. And that is something that sets us apart from all the competition. Nobody else can do it at that scale. We also provide you not only real devices, browsers, we also provide virtual devices, so simulators or emulators as well. More importantly, if you need to connect a secure VPN connection between your private Perfecto Enterprise Cloud and your internal networks, we can allow you to do that as well. We have the expertise and we do this very, very often. And you can reach out to us and we can help you understand how to do that in a secure fashion as well that scales for your whole team, even the internal CI/CD platforms. And that is critical for a lot of these teams. The other part of this is, of course, what we then start to do with the analysis of the data. Your data is secure, but we can then start to take this data and help you understand how to get better at your test automation journey. And we'll talk a bit about how reporting works and how it can really help your teams. So let's actually dive into the tool today to talk a bit about how Perfecto actually works for all those scenarios. So really what I'm going to show you today is the Perfecto cloud infrastructure, where I'm working on a real device, a real browser. And I'll also show you how we then start that journey into test automation. So how do I start to use my object spy? How do I then take a BDD script using my quantum framework, as in this example, to actually execute this at scale? So let's go ahead and dive into this. Perfect. So I thought the Perfecto platform open. Now, the Perfecto platform is very easy to access. You open up your browser, and you can even sign up for a free trial on our website to get access to the solution instantly. So what do you get? Well, first of all, as I mentioned, for our manual testers out there that are busy moving to automation or still have some manual test cases they need to execute, you can simply click on the manual testing and start your journey with Perfecto. So in my example, I've got access based on my licensing to about 116 devices, but we've got hundreds and hundreds of devices in our public cloud that you can get access to. And if you've got a private cloud, you can pick what devices you want. But in here, I can see different iPhones, tablets, I can see Android-based devices, I can see iOS devices. And if I'm looking for browsers, if I want to do cross-browser testing, I can have access to all the different browsers and even up to a certain number of device or browser versions back. So I can even get access to the latest Chrome beta version. So if I want to be ready when it's released out there, I can absolutely use Perfecto to do that as well. Of course, we do this on real Mac machines as well. So if you want to test on Mac desktops, you can absolutely do that as well. Now, one of the other parts for manual testers that are pretty important is the ability to know that I can get a device and what's the operating system version of that device. Just like you would do for Windows 7 or Windows 10 if you're doing cross-browser testing, you want to get a certain operating system. And Perfecto allows you to pick the operating system that's most appropriate to the test you want to fire. And so over here, you can also see that I have devices in different locations. So, of course, Perfecto gives you access to real devices located anywhere in the US, Canada, even in Europe. We have data centers in Asia, as I mentioned as well. So based on my access, I can see these different devices, and I can start to utilize these devices. Now, over here, I can see devices that I may have used previously. So let's go ahead and open up, for example, this iPhone X over here. And I can also open up other devices, and depending on my license, if it allows me, I can open a certain number of concurrent devices at the same time. So there you can see how quickly the device opens up, and this is an iOS device that I can now work with. So what can I do on this device? Well, I can do all my manual testing. If I wanted to simply test a cross-browser application, so a browser-based app on my mobile phone, that is no problem. I can simply start to interact with it instantly over here. So there it's opened up my browser-based app, and I might want to test a log-on scenario or even a registration scenario for this application. Now, we also, of course, offer the ability to test native applications. So if you've got an app that you need to get from the App Store, you can absolutely do so. There's no problem with that. You can swipe on the device, and there you can see, for example, I can test the credit card app over here. I got all sorts of apps over here that I can work with on a day-to-day basis to do the testing that I want to do. So I might open up, for example, my podcast app or whatever app it is you want to test. So if you've got the app in the App Store, you can absolutely download it, no problem. But if it's something that's not available yet and you want to upload it, you can simply install it by uploading it into Perfecto using this capability. So you can simply grab it from your computer, upload it, and start to test your application instantly. Now, this is very important because it allows you to test something before you publish it. Again, really helps you move along your testing cycles. Now, as a manual tester, that's typically how you do it. But of course, when you're starting to do automation, you can actually do that exact step during automation, and we can show you how to do that as well. Now, for those of you who are testing native applications that are thinking, how do I simulate things like Face ID, Touch ID? You can do that using Perfecto's built-in biometric capabilities. And this is a great way to make sure that your apps will work with these types of different phone capabilities. So you can use different phones because some might have Face, some might have Touch ID. They might differ for operating systems, so thinking iOS and Android. So again, the wide variety of devices we have available allow you to quickly test that as well. The next part of this, like I said, what if I want to say, hey, let's simulate the fact that I'm in, downtown Sydney or this Sydney Olympic Park over here. I can instantly set my location on this device. So it now thinks that it is in the Olympic Park in New South Wales in Australia. So it's a great way for me to simulate that. So if I, for example, have an app that says get me my closest coffee shop or closest ATM or whatever the scenario might be, I can test that scenario quickly and easily using Perfecto. I can also simulate different network profiles. So how is my app going to respond to a great network or a poor network? Or what happens if I'm switching networks? I can also customize this by setting the latency. So you can really make sure that your application performs even when the network on the device itself isn't performing at its greatest. And this is critical because some apps might just crash, they might fail, they won't be able to respond, or the messages might be confusing for the end user. So using this type of capability can really help you create a great user experience. For example, the ability to play back a piece of audio as an example. As I've mentioned before, how do I connect this device as a developer because I want to debug it? Well, that's called Dev Tunnel in Perfecto. It's like a big, long USB cable, and I can connect my Dev Tunnel, and it'll be just like this device is plugged into my computer using a USB cable. And this is great for speeding up the manual effort of debugging something, during that developer engineering test cycle as well. Then, of course, I can get test information or CPU information for this device as well. And this goes across the Android devices, iOS devices, it doesn't matter. And I can record this data to ensure that my app isn't causing problems on the device itself. Of course, I get all the device logs as well. So what's going on as I'm doing things, opening up applications, I might be browsing for certain things. I can see what's happening on the right-hand side within my application. Okay. And of course, one of the great things in Perfecto is as I'm starting to go through manual testing, I'm clicking around, taking my user flows. What if I need to look at things like, getting to objects on the phone? And typically, you'd have to use a third-party object inspector, object locator to go and find these things. In Perfecto, this is built in to the real device cloud. So here I can very quickly start to see how do I get access to these items. So I can click on the item over here, open one up, and then you can see all the different items over here. So as I start to click on them, it'll quickly highlight them for me as well. So again, this is a great way to instantly get access to all those objects and start with my journey towards test automation. Okay, so to release a device, we can simply close it back down, and we can mark this test as passed or failed. For example, over here, I can go ahead and mark this device as passed or failed. And again, I can open up different browsers as well. So here, I can go ahead, open up a browser, and if I want to test the latest version of Chrome on a real Mac, I could do so. In this case, I'm going to open up a Chrome browser. So I'm going to take this very same app that I had open before on my phone. What if I want to do the desktop browser testing for my app? Because it's a hybrid app that'll work in both cases. And again, it's in one platform. I didn't have to swap. I can simply open up all the browsers, all the different devices that I need instantly. So it's a great way for me to get my testing going very, very quickly using the Perfecto platform. And of course, you can pick the different devices you want and browsers. So here, I might go ahead and test, again, the login page, test the registration flow. And as I'm doing my manual testing, just like a real device on a phone or a tablet, I can take screenshots as I'm doing my testing to have that available as my manual test flow. So again, Perfecto helps speed that up because it's all in one great platform. So how do we move from here to automation? So one of the things you want to do in Perfecto is take that manual flow and get into automation. So the way you could do that in Perfecto is by using something like our Quantum framework, which is open source, free for you to use. And this is using Selenium and Appium underneath it. Or if you have your ready-to-run Selenium or Appium scripts, if you're an engineer, you use Espresso or XUI test, you can simply connect them, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But here you can see a BDD script that I can run on many devices at the same time. So then you can see I'm going to simply do a web search to open it up. But what if I want to run this very same test on phones, tablets, browsers? How do I do that? The way you can do that is using something like TestNG. So here I'm going to test 5 different devices at the same time, okay? So I can use, for example, an iOS and Android device, and I'm going to run them concurrently at the same time. So I can tell Perfecto using this capability statement what browser I want or what phone do I want. Or if I say, look, I'm not sure, I just want any Galaxy device, I can go Galaxy S.star, and it'll get me whatever version of the first one that's available. And I can do the same for an iPhone. But if you want to get specific, get me an iPhone X on iOS 14, you can absolutely put that in your capabilities as well. And how do I actually connect this test to Perfecto? So the way you do this is simply using the capability. And here, I'm going to connect to the Perfecto mobile cloud, which is our public cloud infrastructure. So I simply put in the URL, and I will need a token. So the token is something you can find in Perfecto under your user profile. And it's, of course, very well documented, but very easy to get that token and simply put it into your script. And then I can tell, the Perfecto platform, hey, I'm going to run Appium or Selenium scripts. I can set my timeout, all those other things. But now I say, look, I'm ready to run all these tests over here. I can simply hit the run mode in IntelliJ over here, and I have started my test automation script. So what's happening in the background? It's going to go ahead and open up 5 different devices. These are 3 web devices and 2, phones in the Perfecto platform. How do I know it's actually working? I can simply click on the Analyze button over here, go to my live stream, and I will start to see my devices opening up. So then you can see 2 have already opened up. The third one's coming, and I can actually watch my scripts execute as they start to run through their test. Okay. And what's going to happen is as these tests execute, they will, get all the results and they'll start to feed into the Perfecto system. The great thing about this is you can scale tremendously. And I can switch my view if I just want to see the list of these, but there you can see multiple browsers, multiple devices, different operating systems, all running the same test. Okay, and this is a great way to do some of that cross-browser, cross-app testing as well. So how do the results actually come through? Well, it's a great way within Perfecto to get the results in an easy-to-work fashion. So, for example, over here, I can see that this test has now run multiple times, and we actually had a failure. So let's see what that failure was. So here I can go in and see for every single step. There you can see all the different tests I executed. And you can see that on the Samsung Galaxy device, we actually had a failure. And the reason we had a failure is nothing to do with my script. Actually, my browser was stopping me because it was trying to do an update. And this is actually on a German phone. So I can make sure that my app or cross-browser app works in different languages as well. So here, what I would do to resolve this is I would add something into my test automation script that could read and understand this pop-up and close it back down. But of course, the Perfecto platform, the Quantum framework, has many of these things built in for you already to help handle these app pop-ups and web browser pop-ups as well, which often cause you a bit of a problem. But the great thing about this is that you get the full stack trace. So if this was a real failure on my app, I would be able to see it and execute on that very quickly. I get all the device information, how it executed, what did it use, was it Selenium? I can also get device logs and all these sorts of things. I get a full video playback of this test and how it works, so I can see at what point did the problem occur. So I can see very quickly, look, there the problem occurred. If I connected my Jira, I would be able to hit a button to create a bug directly in Jira from this failed report. So this is really accelerating my testing, my understanding of why things are failing. So if I go to my report library, if I want to see what failed, I can simply click on it, and instantly I can see all the problems. So element not found. So that's a test automation script that I need to go ahead and fix. So you can see how quick and easy it was to get to that failure detail, so I can go ahead and pick it out. We also have a full heat map capability inside of the Perfecto platform, allowing me to go ahead and very quickly build up a heat map of when things might be failing, and I can group them by different categories. I can say, hey, things are failing on, for example, a Chrome browser or on iOS devices, on different operating systems, right? So I can really go ahead and get all of those things very quickly and act upon them. This is a great way to very quickly get to a problem, and there I can see all the scripts affected by this problem and then go and do something about it. So again, it makes it exceptionally easy for you to work with something like Perfecto to get to the bottom of these. One of the things is as you get into automation, you can really start to build up your CI/CD pipeline as well with our CI dashboard. And you can connect things like Jenkins, Circle CI, and many other commonly used platforms out there today. So that's a great way that you can get going with Perfecto. And hopefully that's given you some insight into how Perfecto works and how you could use it for your teams as well. So Shelby, I think that's a great point to stop and see if there's any questions from the audience that we can help with.
Yes, we do have a few. Our first question from the audience asks, are all of the devices real devices and browsers?
Absolutely. So Perfecto has both real devices, meaning a real iPhone, a real Android device, real browsers, so real Mac machines in the background for you. But we also have virtual devices. So if you need a simulator, emulator, for more of my engineering-based testing, where I don't really need a real device yet, we offer both. So again, a great question because we provide both real devices as well as these virtual devices. Yep.
All right, perfect. The next question is, do you have SIM cards for two-factor authentication testing?
Great. I think that, comes from one of the earlier points I raised is testing these hard flows, hard scenarios where we see a lot of teams. So when you sign up, I get a text message or SMS. I need to read the code, put it in. So you can only really get that if you've got a real phone with a real SIM card. And the answer is yes. Perfecto allows you to get that in a private, hosted instance. So you can certainly get SIM cards on these real devices. And if you want different SIM cards in different countries because your devices might be in Europe or Asia or, somewhere in the US or Canada, we also provide that service. So yes, you can get real SIM cards to get those test automation flows capabilities for you to test as well. So absolutely possible.
Great. The next question is, my app scans a QR code. How can I test that with your solution?
That's a great question. So we see this a lot as a great use case for, if you're using any app or scanning barcodes on a website or, in today's world where people don't want to touch things, they, don't want to give money out, they might have an app that does a QR for payment or whatever this usage scenario might be or signing up, right? So again, if you want to test that sort of flow in Perfecto, you can use our image injection capabilities on any real device to inject the image as you're doing your test in both a manual as well as an automated flow. And you can go ahead, get that, and scan the QR code, and your app will think it actually had the camera open because Perfecto does some great things in the back end to make that happen. But yes, that is absolutely possible and very quick to do within the Perfecto platform.
Great. I think the last question that we'll have time for today is, my QA team is small and we need help to start with test automation. Can you help us?
Absolutely. We do have professional services teams available that can help you get started with the automation. A lot of teams come to us and say, hey, we know what we want to do, but we need somebody to help us get going quickly. And it's not all about speed. What they really need is a solid foundation. They need expertise from people who have done this before. They know what the things that you should be doing, the right things, but also what are the things you should not be doing that'll get you into trouble as you start to scale your automation. And that is where Perfecto can also help our teams. They work with some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies in the world. So we can help guide you on what the right things are to be doing, what you should be watching out for, and how do you build test automation scripts that'll really scale and won't become a maintenance headache down the line. So we can absolutely help you with that. Just reach out to our teams and we can certainly get in contact with you and start you down that process.
Great. Well, that is all that we have time for today. If we didn't get to your question, we will reach out to you via email. With that, thank you to our audience for your attendance and participation today. And thank you, of course, to our presenter, Nico. We hope to see you next time.